Hey guys, it's finally here. Dark Knight's Metal number 6. The conclusion to Dark Knight's Metal. I know I've made you guys wait a super long time for this video. I've been busy, but what matters is that we're about to officially finish the very first review series that we started here at the Nerdcore. So it's a big step. But without further ado, let's just get to talking about this. So the issue opens up with the Batman Who Laughs unwrapping some bandages from a mysterious individual. This individual was actually introduced in Dark Knight's Metal: The Wild Hunt, which was one of the spin-off one-shot issues that are there for extra story. It's not necessary to the main story, but it's extra details and just an extra side story for people who are really interested in the Dark Knight's Metal books. But we're not actually told who this person is, at least not for now. We will be told later, but basically the Batman Who Laughs is just telling him that it's all over. There's no more hope. That they won. Barbados is going to sink the world into darkness for good. And it's at that moment that we see images of several League members. They seem defeated. They might be dead. They might just be unconscious. But what we do know is that they're not winning this fight. They're definitely not winning this fight. But we're also shown Wonder Woman exactly where we left her off in the last issue, with Kendra fighting off several nightmare versions of League members, and there's even a dark side in there, but it's pretty crazy. I've said this a lot throughout this series, but I really do love all of this different panels with Diana. They've just been drawn really well. So great job, Capullo, as always. But they mentioned that they haven't actually made much progress in this fight since we last saw them. They've just they've been fighting for a really long time, but they've barely even managed to make steps forward in the direction that they want to actually travel in because of how large this swarm is, and everything seems hopeless, as we've been told by the Batman Who Laughs. But it's at that moment that Diana decides to take Hawkgirl's mace and they slam it against her bracelets, which causes a huge sound, waking up all the League members we thought were dead or knocked out. And so then at that moment we cut back to Hal and Mr. Terrific, who are with Aquaman, and they're fighting several Dark Knights, and they're awake now, but they're still having a tough time fighting them, and that's why Mr. Terrific yells out to the Plastic Man Egg and says he has to wake up, he has to do something, he has to come out, turn into a dinosaur, a bulldozer, a shark, just something. And it's at that moment that we get one of my favorite scenes in all of this issue, because we see that Plastic Man emerges from the egg, and he says, "How about I become all of the above?" And he does. He turns into an octopus. Part of his body is like a dinosaur. There's some parts of his body that are like a chainsaw, a hammer, a bulldozer. It's pretty crazy. I love this image. I love that we're seeing Plastic Man again. I was a big fan of him on Batman and the Brave and the Bold, so it's fun to see him in the comics again. But Plastic Man, he's a total badass. The dude starts wiping the floor with all of the evil Batmen, clearing some space, allowing for Wonder Woman and the rest of the Justice League, at least the rest of the Justice League minus Batman and Superman, to actually make some real progress in their fight for once, as they make their way to Barbados and the Anti-Monitor's antenna. Once they do get close to the Anti-Monitor's antenna, they they see an entrance into the forge. Specifically, Hawkgirl and Wonder Woman see this entrance being guarded by Barbados, and they say, we have to go down there because that's where Superman and Batman are. And Wonder Woman says, we can't win without them, so I'm gonna go down there, hold on to my lasso of truth. And so she gives her the lasso, and she uses and ties it to herself. And Wonder Woman uses it to descend into the Forge of Worlds, where then she comes across none other than Carter Hall, who is currently the Dragon of the Forge, the exact dragon that both Superman and Batman had a really hard time fighting against. And you would think Wonder Woman, there's no way she's going to be able to do this. If Superman and Batman were really struggling with him, then how much is she going to struggle? Luckily, Kendra recognizes that it's him down there, and so she starts yelling at Carter, trying to wake him up, and it looks like it's working. He realizes that it's Kendra talking to him, and he kind of snaps out of it. He's still the Dragon of the Forge. He's still in that crazy armored body, but it looks like he's back on the side of good. And as much as Barbados hates to admit it, that seems to be what's going on. And as this is happening, as Barbados is getting ready to attack Kendra for waking up Carter Hall, we then see Detective Chimp Bobo show up with Cyborg and Flash, and a bunch of different Batman from different multiverses. And this is also one of my favorite moments in the comics. This is a great comic, honestly. Like, I'm just gonna spoiler it. This is one of the best comics I've read in the entire year. It's amazing. It's definitely one of my favorite comics of all time. This issue is a great way to finish it, but this scene is one of the reasons why. We get to see what looks to me like kind of like the Dark Knight Rises Batman. I mean, I'm not sure if it is, but it looks a lot like him. And then we definitely see Red Sun Batman back there. So yeah, it was a great image overall, and it's awesome that now they get these good Batmen to fight all the dark Batmen. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, so then at that moment we cut back to Wonder Woman, who she no longer has to deal with Carter Hall. So what she does is she jumps right into the Forge, just as Batman and Superman did in the other issue before this. And as she does jump in, we also start to see images of the various League members. Although they were woken up, they're still struggling to win. The odds against them are overwhelming, which is why we see Aquaman and Green Lantern, they're struggling to win. But it's at that moment, as they're struggling, that we see Diana come back out of the Forge with Bruce and Superman, and they're covered in this awesome armor, which turns out is made out of the 10th metal, or element 10, as I like to call it, and they look incredible. This is another highlight of the issue. Again, this is an amazing issue, so there's going to be a lot of times where I'm going to be saying this is awesome, because that's what it is. But they come out with this armor, and turns out that the 10th metal is what's used to create everything in the multiverse. So everything in the multiverse has a trace of 10th metal inside of them, and that's going to be important for later in the story. But for now, what we do know is that because of this armor, Batman and the rest of the League are actually able to fight against all these beings from the dark multiverse. They actually stand a chance because they're weak against this type of armor. So now that they actually have a fighting chance, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman agree that they have to get to the cosmic tuning fork, what I've been referring to as the monitor's antenna, whatever. But they have to get there. And here's another really, really great scene. Superman says, "Batman, I'll just fly you up there. I'll fly you to the tuning fork." But Batman's like, "No, I got this." And he punches this Joker dragon that was there among all the different nightmares, and he just gets on it and starts flying away. And he just punches it. Like, that's awesome. This is why I love comics. But yeah, so he flies off, and on his way to the tuning fork, he sees several struggling Justice League members, and he throws batarangs made of 10th metal at them, which then pierce them and give them their armor of their own. So we get to see even more of the League wearing this awesome armor. And once they have this armor, again, they stand a fighting chance, and they easily wipe the floor with all the dark like Batmen, and it's pretty awesome. Not only does the League now have a better chance at winning against all these different dark Batmen and other nightmare versions of the League, but with Carter Hall on their side, now he starts fighting against Barbados, which leads to another awesome panel. The art in the series, again, has been amazing. I've said that a lot, but it's just because it's true, guys. It's really, really incredible, which is why you should definitely pick up this issue if you can to get a better look of the art yourself. But once Batman gets up to the tuning fork, he finds where the Batman Who Laughs is, and it turns out that the person who the Batman Who Laughs was originally talking to was the Overmonitor, who, from some like Grant Morrison era stuff, you would know that he is kind of responsible for the creation of every multiverse, everything in the DC multiverse, and so that's why the Batman Who Laughs kidnapped him. He says, you were here for the start, now you're going to be here for the end of it, because he's going to take the Overmonitor's energy and combine it with the Anti-Monitor's energy, because together they'll essentially just cancel each other out and wipe out the universe, or the multiverse entirely, leaving only darkness, which is exactly what Barbados and the Batman Who Laughs want. Luckily, with Bruce there, he's ready to take him down, he's ready to finish him, to make the fight a little more even. Turns out that in that cave that he found him in, the 10th metal armor does not work. So now we just get Batman fighting against the Batman Who Laughs, one-on-one. Nothing special, just their own strength, their own minds. Finally see who gets to come out on top. And, as they're fighting, the Batman Who Laughs starts telling him that, he's, in every universe that he's ever been to, their parents always die. They always die. And another constant is that Batman always loses. In the end, Batman doesn't get what he wants because he's not willing to fight dirty, unlike the Batman Who Laughs. And as he's saying that, he shoots Bruce again showing that he's willing to play dirty. He's not bound by any moral code, which is why he claims that he's going to come out on top. And as he's gloating to Bruce, Bruce is on his knees. He just says, "Just shoot already." And at that moment, the Batman Who Laughs gets shot. We're led to believe that Bruce is telling the Batman Who Laughs to just shoot him already, but it turns out that he was actually talking to the Joker, who was behind the Batman Who Laughs and shot him. This is I'd say that this is like my definitive favorite moment in the entire series, because Bruce and the Joker team up to take down the Batman Who Laughs, and it's incredible. The Joker basically just tells the Batman Who Laughs, "Hey, like, you've been doing a good job at fighting Batman because you are Batman. You understand Batman. You can predict what he's gonna do because it's you, but you're not me, which is why you don't know what I'm gonna do and you're not gonna be able to fight me." And so together, Joker and Batman are able to take down the Batman Who Laughs. And again, this is an incredible scene. I definitely recommend you pick up this book if you haven't already, and to just read this scene yourself, because by far my favorite moment in this entire entire series, and honestly, it's one of my favorite Batman Joker moments of all time. So, yeah. With the Batman Who Laughs taken out, now we cut back to the rest of the League, who was making progress with defeating all the different Dark Knights and different Nightmare Justice League members. And, it's just as that's happening that Barbados actually destroys the tuning fork, which was supposed to help them, pull the Earth back out of darkness and back to the light. And, furious because of this, Kendra just pierces a hole through Barbados. And as this is happening, we also cut back to Batman, who, having defeated the Batman Who Laughs, he rescues the Overmonitor and brings them back out of that cave to where the rest of the League is, surrounding the remains of the cosmic tuning fork. But it all seems done. They thought that was their last hope. They needed that tuning fork to pull the Earth out. But the Overmonitor reveals that that metal they're wearing has the power to pull the Earth back, because everything ever created has a trace of that metal. They can harness the energy of every living thing and use that to pull the Earth out. So they do some like Dragon Ball Z, spirit bomb stuff or something. But so they basically collect energy from every being in all of the multiverses that's on their side, and use that energy to pull the Earth back out of darkness. And with Barbados out of the darkness, he's no longer at his peak strength, which means that the Justice League were able to stop him and seal him away for good back into the dark multiverse. But what's interesting is that they also reveal that in doing so, they actually reached out all the way to the source wall, which is basically, this wall at the end of the known DC universe, and they broke through that wall. So now we're getting danger coming through that. This universe is going to be exposed to new things that they hadn't been exposed to before, which is why we're going to get No Justice, which I may or may not do videos on. I'm not sure yet, but we will be getting No Justice next because of that break in the source wall. The actual Dark Knight's Metal story technically ends there, but we do get a little epilogue afterwards in which, Bruce basically he's having a party with the Justice League and many other heroes who helped him out in this story, and he thanks them because he says without them there's no way they would have been able to do this. But he also tells them, hey, when we accessed the 10th metal and we rebuilt the universe, we rebuilt the multiverse, and we may have added things subconsciously. Hawkman was aware of these things that were added, and he scribbled them down in his notebooks before passing out. After because he's obviously, the guy's exhausted. He's been through a lot, but he scribbled these things down. And as Batman's explaining what Carter Hall wrote down, we get images from like Flash War. We get some strange like suit of armor. I'm not sure what that's from. Maybe one of you guys know, but he also mentioned something about Green Lantern and Dark Stars, Aquaman and Atlantis Rising. And then we see more images from like the things that are to come in No Justice, and it shows you just how much was set up by this whole event, how much will change because of the breaking of the source wall. But in the very end, what we get is a teaser image of the Hall of Justice, which will be coming back in the Justice League series, which is out right now. I still haven't read it because I've been catching up on Metal, and I need to catch up on No Justice. But this has been one of the best stories from DC and just in comics in general that I've read. Scott Snyder and Capullo, the Dream Team, they do an incredible job as usual. There was moments in this story where I was like, it's getting a little convoluted, but in the end, it's comic book, and it's the crazy action we want from this comic book. It was a fun ride. The art was amazing. I absolutely loved the end. I loved all the fan service. I loved all the incredible moments we got. I'm giving Dark Knight's Metal a final rating of 10 out of 10. It was incredible. The whole book is incredible, and I can't wait to see what Scott Snyder will do on his Justice League run. And now it's time for this week's Comics Haul. First up, we have The Amazing Spider-Man #1, written by Nick Spencer with art by Ryan Ottley. An alien invasion hits New York City, and the only one who can stop it is Spider-Man. And even if that's not enough, you'll see a new roommate, new love interest, and a new villain. Spider-Man goes back to basics courtesy of this new creative team. Now here's Superman #1, written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Ivan Rice. The fallout from the Man of Steel miniseries has Clark Kent looking at the world through new eyes, with new ideas about what Superman could do and should do for the city of Metropolis and the planet Earth. His first job, getting the planet back out of the Phantom Zone. And finally, The Flash #50, written by Joshua Williamson with art by Howard Porter. The lightning-fueled finale of Flash War is here. Zoom adapts 2 new Speed Force powers into his arsenal against both Barry Allen and Wally West. What are these strange new powers? What can they do? And how will this haunt the Scarlet Speedster long after Flash War is over? Well, that's all we have for you in this video, guys, but thank you so much for supporting this very first series we did here at the Nerdcore. We're planning on doing a lot more in the future, like video essays, so be on the lookout for that. And I'll see you next time here at the Nerdcore.